That sound right there, no amp, no cab, no pedal board, just the 2 notes Genome software. Today I'm going to show you exactly what I think it gets right, what I think it doesn't, and whether it's worth adding to your setup. Let's go. We are looking at the dashboard here. I'm going to start off in a different sound. Let's kind of just walk you through what the software looks like. So the Genome software it's got all the amp and cab modeling. I've just done a review, a demonstration of the Revolt based preamp and cab sim pedal by 2 notes. You can watch that here. This is the extension of that, the software component that you get included when you buy the pedal, but you can buy the software standalone too. So let's break into it, because the Revolt DI pedal is not for everyone. This software might just be. So let's kind of look at the layout of the software. This is the standalone Genome software, but you can have it as a plugin for all your different DAWs, so you can attach it to your recording. And we'll talk a little bit more about who this is best suited for. What's really going on is going to be these sections here. Right now we've got a preset going on right here, and you can see the big thing about this software is really the quality of the cab simulations and the different choices and options you've got here in terms of pedals, compressors, all of these sorts of things going on. Let me just turn off everything so we can get a baseline idea. In this case here, we've just got the dry sound of this bass going straight into the audio interface. I do actually have it going through the Revolt based DI, but it's in bypass, so it's not coloring it at all. Now, if we were to turn on just the Peggy amp, which is based on an Ampeg, okay, now this is a preamp that you get as standard. I've made a couple tweaks, but I'll show you later on. Ooh! Already you can hear the weight and the power behind it, and there's lots of different stuff going on. So let's have a little look at our section. You've got your input monitoring at this top right and output there, so you can see at some point we did have a little clip there, so that will help you set your different gains and levels here. But this is a kind of out of the box sound. Right now we're going through it's a model on a Mesa Boogie cab, a 250. And you can hear a real kind of richness and weight behind the sound. We've got 16 cabs out of the box to choose from, or you might actually have 10. You might have 10 initially, but I've got the 16 here. So you've got the little difference. So even between those 2 different 2x15 cabs, both from Mesa Boogie, you can hear the difference in the tone there. What you've got as well is mic placement options. So down here you've got mic A and mic B. So you can choose more of mic A. Or you could go all the way to mic B, which you're probably not going to want to do, which is this one back here. Obviously it's going to sound further away because it is further away and the volume is less. I find the default split's pretty good. So unless you're really into your mic placements and playing around with things, and you can change the type of mic in this section here, you've got all the customization you could ever want. I go with the defaults on mic placement. What is this good for? A few things. If you just want a real warm sound and a sound like you've actually recorded the amp, you can do that with this software without having to buy all of these hard to find amp models and cabs, and you can play around with what works best for the different songs. What this is also good for is working out what cabs you actually like and what speaker sizes you like. For example, for me, I confirmed that I really love the sound of 10-inch speakers. So this one's based on a Hartkey 4x10 XL cab. Very popular back in the day. And then you got like an Eden 4x10 here as well. And I know you guys are going to want to hear some slap with it. And just with that Hartkey one again, there's subtle differences, but let me go to my favorite. They've got a Mark-based 2x10 emulation. And for me, that's the kind of sweet spot for me with all this different stuff. But if you want it to sound like you've got a 8x10, a 9x10 cab they've even got here, modeled on another Ampeg cab, and it gives you a lovely description here as well. You can do that. You can really hear the differences between them, and the other cab I just show you as well, that is a really nice balance that I would also spend a lot of time on, would be this standard Powerhouse 1000. That's again Mesa Boogie. Now this has a really lovely balance between thick warmth and weight, but the clarity coming from the tens. Now, if you want to improve, for me, I improved this woody finger bass sound by turning off the Vermin pedal here and turning off this pre. Instantly, you've already got less mids, so you've got a more scoop tone. That already for me is beautiful. And with that back on, it depends what genre you're playing and what you're going for. You might prefer with these pedals in. So everything's got its use and you can tailor it to how you like, but let's take it to how I like it. And just to show you here, we got this Studio Enhancer EQ with it on. That actually sounds possibly better off. And this is why you got to play around and find what works for you, what works for what you're trying to get out of this. Because it's obviously scooped a bit of the mids out, but you want some of that back in. You got that there and back on. This gives much more of the impression of playing through the cab, standing in front of the cab, that kind of sound there. And this enhancer is actually adding a lot of weight here. And if you want to take these presets on the road with you, like it's part of your pedal board, without having to connect up a laptop, you get the 2 Notes Opus. It's like a floorboard version of this software that you can customize in the software on the computer, but you can then literally add it at the end of your pedal board or inline, depending on how you're going to use it. That is a great option there. That Peggy amp is a lovely amp to play through. There is also, if I were to get rid of that Peggy amp, your bass amps are the Peggy, the Foundry bass. The Foundry bass has a lot more kind of modern cleans, and then the 400, which is based on a Mesa Boogie bass amp. And we've got a bit more volume on the default settings here. I'm gonna add a bit of contour. even if I was to get a better slap tone, I'd kind of scoop out some of that mid, bump the treble and bass. Let's change out that cab to the mark bass 2x10. You got a lot of different options there. You can see there's tons of settings and you got all of these banks available to save your own presets. Now I want to show you my patch. This is one I edited from what is originally on the A111 channel. Now this will be more suited for R&B, gospel. You can record direct into Logic or whatever DAW you're using, then retrospectively after the recording is done, apply the amp, the patch, the effects to it. So with that same kind of slap feel, we've got and then what I've got for you here is a little, they've called it like a bass EQ pedal equalizer, but this will just give you a nice warm boost, especially for like slap stuff, or you want to dig in a bit more, get a bit more low end and top end. Now, again, this is the mark bass cab, and I will go to the standard powerhouse just to give you another option. The more I play it, I'm starting to prefer the standard powerhouse, but you have to play around with it and you have to see how this all fits in the mix. Another good option for recording could be to have a song, have your bass part recorded, duplicate the bass channel once it's recorded, and then apply the amp with cab simulation to the duplicated channel, and you can blend the two. One more for fun. This is a completely stock patch. The sound is there, stock in the patch. This is a standard patch. It's very 80s. And again, you got pathway splits and blends that you can do, how much for lane A versus lane B. This will let you go as nerdy and detailed as you want to go with this. And their graphic designers, as far as I'm concerned, got this really right. The amps are really easy, they're intuitive to use. You can add different blocks. You can simply drag and move the blocks about if you want to change the signal chain pathway, and a simple off or on. You can even save or have different presets for the amp model itself. So let's say you're creating a new patch, but you like the sound of this Mesa Boogie emulation. Go on, while I'm here, I might as well demonstrate. The one thing that this Genome software is currently missing is a set of presets, but also dedicated amp models on bass for more clean and modern bass amps like they could really do. They've got the mark bass cabs and a load of extra cab models that you can buy online. But what they don't have is, and it could be in the works, is like a mark bass, little mark. They don't have Aguilar AG or the DB series model. They don't have a GK model, you know, or even like a Vanderklay model would be really cool. What I'd like to see on future updates for this Genome software is for them to actually think about us more, us players who do more gospel, neo soul, R&B, and get some more modern, clean, jazz, gospel, neo soul influenced tones and amps modeled so that we can actually much more easily craft the tones that we want. Because right now it would still be easier for me to get my Mark bass head and, you know, get a very clean slap tone, gospel tone or neo soul tone. Same with my Aguilar AG700 amp head, and I can get stuff that works, but the amp side is currently lacking for clean R&B gospel influenced genres of music from a bass standpoint. On the amp side, the cabs are great. The cabs are really great. One thing I'd say, a great way to use this is get a DI sound that you like and then play around with the cabs, you know, before you go out and spend hundreds, if not thousands of pounds on different actual amps. Use this software and actually decide what you like the sound of first, even just to determine if you like 10, 12 or 15-inch speakers or a particular combination of the two. I have actually found that quite useful within this. The hardest thing with software like this, how do you work out if the sound is accurate? Especially on an instrument like bass where you feel the music, you're feeling the vibrations. That is difficult to do on just software alone, you know, because a larger element of the feel of bass when we listen to something live is the actual air hitting us, you know, and that's something that can't be replicated in the same way. But the tone that you get from it, it does a good job. Like the 10s sound like 10s, the 12 sounds like 12s, the 15s sound like 15s, and it's given me a few ideas actually for a live setup. So who is this for? This is for bassists that record a lot. If you're recording on a lot of tracks, especially a wide variety of tracks, but even just not a wide variety of tracks, and you want some options, you want it to sound like a bass in the room and give the track some real warmth. Really good for that, because you can play around in post after recording to get the exact mix and EQ and amp and cab combination that you want. And you can play around with miking, distances and all of that after the recording has been done. That's a huge time saver if you're really into the details like that. Obviously producers as well, you know, especially if you're going to be playing in bass stuff, this will give you a nice bass tone that the user's not going to tell the difference. The listener's not going to tell the difference between a recorded, say, Mesa 400 or the model here through the dynamic cab sticking on a, well, let me make sure I get a bass cab, the Powerhouse 215. You don't want that in your studio. I mean, you might want it in your studio, but you don't want to have to move around and wheel around or try and find these cabs if you're wanting a particular sound, but you've got access to it through this. This is a really intuitive software to use to do that. You got built-in tuner as well. This is really good for if you play bass and guitar, because the guitar stuff, really, really good. I feel like there's certainly more options and they've covered a wider scope for guitar. This is a very, very complete product. Because I do both, I don't want to have to buy everything twice over. You know, if you're someone that has to get a bass setup, a guitar setup, you know, the costs drastically increase. Right, so the full package Genome with all the bits and pieces that they've got in there is 150 euros. For what you get, that's really good value. The Opus comes with, as does the Revolt Bass DI that I've reviewed, comes with the lifetime license for the Genome software. That costs 270 euros. Okay, so it's not the full suite, you know, there'll be a couple bits and pieces that you won't have with the full suite. That's a real game changer in terms of like a fully fledged option for essentially under 300 quid. Now, for me, that's great value. I'd say if you're never recording, it's probably not gonna be super important or relevant to you, and you're probably just going to stick to your physical hardware. But if you then get into designing your patches, and I find it a lot more intuitive than the Helix software. You know, the HX Stomp software, I have a HX Stomp, it goes most places with me because it is so versatile and such a good tool. But in terms of user interface, the Genome stuff blows it out of the water. And with the cap sims, in my opinion, it sounds better to me. Maybe that's because partly a visual thing as well, that is easier to use, but ultimately that's what it's about, right? It's about how do you get the sound you want? Do you enjoy using the stuff? Because if you enjoy using the stuff, you're more likely to use it and get better results from it. That is the brief overview of this Genome gear. There will be more videos going through specific pedals and maybe patches within this Genome software. So if there's anything you do want to see, let me know in the comments. Is this going to be something you're going to add to your bank of tools? Is it going to be replacing stuff you already have? Is it going on your Christmas list or birthday list? It's a good option there. So if you have someone special in your life that you're thinking of a gift for, check out the Genome software. You can get the basic Genome license for just 60 euros. Yeah, which includes 15 amps, 46 pedals, 50 plus amp profiles, virtual cabinets. You can check it on the website. From 60 euros, definitely worth a look. And at 60 euros, it's worth the punt just to see if you like it or not. But I doubt you'll be disappointed. Don't take my opinion, go for it yourself, and we'll see you in the next video.